Did you know that what a decacorn is, or a decacorn?
Too loud, too close to your microphone.
Oh, do you know what a decacorn is?
Yes, the $100 billion net worth
No,
company.
10
10?
billion.
Wait, what's
Decu
a centi is
Centicorn.
100? Oh, okay. Yeah. Nice.
It's like the centaur meets the unicorn. But our question for all of you watching today: can you tell us what the newest centicorn that has been named by the U.S. government?
Newest Centicorn just dropped.
New centicorn by
Huge.
the U.S. government.
It
But
might be the hottest, most lucrative investment ever made by our country and by our tax dollars.
yeah, I mean, I always go back. I mean, also, hello, welcome. Another episode of Bitcoin Q&A. We're here. Day number 4 this week. Our first 4 top week ever in the history of Bitcoin Q&A. I'm the Q. Here's the A. Welcome to episode
Bitcoin Q&A.
number. What number are we?
10.
Episode 11.
This is our 10th episode. Yeah.
10. We made it. We made it. Call me Messi, bro. We made it.
We made it. Well, this is my episode 10. This would be Q's episode number 9. We can celebrate Q's episode if he makes another one.
Minor details. What can I say, man? Sleeping in, just it felt so right. I digress though. It's been a slow week. You know, it is the bear market. We got a little news stories. We got a fun announcement for NOSTRASIA as well that we'll share with you guys. And of course we'll dive into our questions. Do you want to start with NOSTRASIA or should we start with Shinobi?
Well, I feel like you should answer the question that you just posed to the audience.
No. That I'm gonna ask it a couple more times. I want to generate some people in the chat because if you get it right, whether you're on YouTube, Rumble, zap.stream, Twitter, wherever you're watching, we will send you some sats.
Let me ask it in the stream.
But I digress. Look, let's start with the drive chain stuff. I'm a free market maximalist. I believe that the market should dictate what we want, what we like, what we need. I hate that I'm like in this, like I feel uncomfortable being in this camp that's like, no, you guys shouldn't do that. No, we shouldn't be.
Well, say what you said before the show. You said that you're bored or not interested in drive chains, which I think is important because I think
it's just like that's not
drive chains.
That's not the technological development, in my opinion, that drives mass global adoption. I think creating both marketplaces, exchanges, whatever you want to call it, marketplaces and exchanges that have like rudimentary, the most basic UI so that your grandmother doesn't need to call you and could literally just open this app and buy Bitcoin. Or on the other end of the spectrum, wallets that are so simple, it's easier than opening a bank account.
But this avoids both of those. I think avoid the underlying protocol, which is why this drive chains are so contentious. Is because, in my opinion, now Beautyon and other developers. I'm not a developer. Sometimes disagree with me, but I don't see how they can disagree that any change can bring unintended consequences to a code base and unforeseen bugs. I think that is a safe assumption to make, and I stand by that assumption. I totally disagree with Beautyon on that. So the problem is we're talking about altering the underlying protocol, altering Bitcoin itself, not second or third layer, not software applications that interact with the protocol, but altering Bitcoin itself. That is why, how, why, when you should do it. These are all questions that arise when these kind of proposals are brought up.
Yeah, I also think there's an element too of like I wonder if the ordinals craze didn't really pick up in the way that it did this year, if Paul Stork would be having such an uphill battle, because ordinals are, they're not even the brainchild of Taproot, but it is an unintended consequence of that upgrade that no one had anticipated would turn into what it did. And I genuinely wonder if that update doesn't happen and we don't see the ordinals craze on the Bitcoin blockchain that we saw this year.
What if
If
what update doesn't happen? What do you mean?
like if Taproot never gets pushed through.
We already have Taproot.
No, I understand. But I'm saying
Just a hypothetical.
like a hypothetical of, because the Taproot upgrade allowed for Casey to create sort of the whole ordinals, like the ability to create ordinals on a Satoshi. Is that an accurate, simplified assessment?
Yeah, I mean, it would have happened either way. People would find a way using opportunity.
Fair,
using
but I think it's more to do with the fact that like when Taproot came through, it was never, oh, this is to help NFTs come onto Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then it eventually, in your own words, it became an unintended consequence of that upgrade. And so that wound is very fresh.
Yeah, and
so,
also the way Taproot was deployed.
Yeah. Like
a little fucking weird, bro. Like I didn't vote for that.
Nope.
It was this
Push through.
kind of yeah. I don't know. Yeah, so it's complicated. There's trade-offs to all these things. I thought Shinobi wrote a pretty funny article called "Drive Chains Are Stupid," just reminding people that drive chains change miner incentives. Yeah. And the idea that Paul seems to be promoting is basically that drive chains solve the long-term security budget and allow complete freedom to incorporate new features into Bitcoin without any risk. That's too good to be true. That's not how things work. That's impossible. I mean, that's what his claims boil down to, and it doesn't seem accurate. And we're not even getting into the details of like how people with money in these side chains and drive chains can get their blocks reorged, and how miners may be able to collude to basically attack Bitcoin to launch something like this. It's a very I don't know. It's kind of spooky times, but I think it seems right now it's been fairly squashed. I mean, I haven't heard too much about it. It's going to pop up every time he comes to a conference and speaks.
No, have you heard what Layer 2 Labs is doing?
No.
And I saw the first post of this and I laughed because it was so bad.
Mm-hmm.
So Layer 2 Labs has gone out and they hired someone who's a meme expert.
Yeah.
And so they want to try
to meme it into existence.
Yes. And yesterday they had that meme of the guy at the baseball game whispering to the girl's ear. And it was like a freaking paragraph.
Yeah.
And it was like super technical. And I was just like, guys, that's not how you meme. Like that. This is a joke on you, not the joke you think you're telling.
No.
I
think, look, these guys have been around for years, man. And going back to my initial argument, like it's not interesting. No one cares. No one agrees that this is going to bring more value to Bitcoin. Nobody fucking uses side chains now. Liquid, empty. You know what I mean? I guess this could dig into one of our first questions, like why might they be useful? Let me pull up the specific question here. So like as layer 2 solutions gain traction, what is the significance of side chains in the evolution of the Bitcoin ecosystem? So some of, the argument is it allows you to develop without affecting the underlying protocol in some ways. It can allow for scaling solutions. It can allow for other technical feats, I guess you would say, that aren't worth the risks and trade-offs of underlying kind of rough consensus rules of Bitcoin. So that's good, but how it's implemented and how important is it really to Bitcoiners? That's kind of the question we're facing culturally today. I mean, Q, I don't know. Do you use ordinals? Would you use the
No,
features of the
nope,
sidechain? Would you
nope,
want to see shit coins,
nope,
I guess, being developed in sidechains and people pegging out of Bitcoin to
nope,
use, I don't know, stable coins and all sorts of other.
nope.
No, you're not interested in any of those use cases.
No, because the price manipulation that could then happen with this unnatural liquidity coming into the market
Wait, why is it unnatural?
because it doesn't belong there.
What do you mean?
Bitcoin has its market cap, but
Yeah.
the potential effects of something like this that is spun off against Bitcoin is you create a derivative
Yeah.
based on Bitcoin's market cap. So what you do in theory is this derivative, the shitcoin that is built off of the Bitcoin blockchain,
Mm-hmm.
that liquidity could be used to alter the price of Bitcoin because then we've seen it before, man. FTX takes out a leveraged loan against their shitcoin that they spun up, and then they are
Mm-hmm.
trying to maintain the price at a certain level. Then all of a sudden you have a new shitcoin that's spun up against Bitcoin, but this time you're trying to maintain the price at a certain level against the Bitcoin blockchain. So not only do you have to maintain the price of your shitcoin at a certain level, you have to maintain the price of Bitcoin at a certain level. So you think there are whales that play around with the Bitcoin price right now? The floodgates will open when
I, I
shitcoins are here.
I think you're always, I think you're always going to get that. I mean, we already see that in a lot of ways. We already see great momentum swings and times of volatility and whale games and kind of traps being played, and that's all fine and good. I think the influx of adoption is good, but I think like another problem, that you just remind me of is people get confused. People already get confused and go to bitcoin.com instead of bitcoin.org and end up buying like, Bcash or something, or Litecoin instead of Bitcoin proper. And the difference is profound. And that is the same thing that will happen when side chains, like people won't know the difference. People will see some cheaper bullshit uh, token existing on a drive chain and they'll scoop up, 8 million of those as opposed to trying to accumulate one Bitcoin. And then all of a sudden you have this drive chain, which is not run by a federation, but still has possibility to be kind of reorged by miners. These people lose all their money. And that gives Bitcoin itself a bad name because we let that in, to our home and to our consensus rules. I think they should hard fork it. I want a free shitcoin token drop, sell it, let the markets decide. I beg them to hard fork it because look, they haven't done the work. They haven't educated enough people about it. I mean, you can tell by, I've read a fair amount about it and I still am like coming across really unknowledgeable. Still don't, there's no good way to talk about it. I don't think very many people understand it very well. And that is the fault of the devs. I mean, the marketing strategy has been fearmonger, out argue people, but that's not how you prove to the world that this technology will make Bitcoin more prosperous. So my 2 cents remains, launch on Litecoin and show us how it makes Bitcoin more prosperous. And a lot of maxis freak it, the 2020 era Bitcoiners are like, you can't do that. Litecoin's not a shitcoin test net. We don't test our protocol. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, check your history, bro. Literally like, look at SegWit. I think it's a fine proposal. I would rather that. I mean, the only alternative is what, launch on Bitcoin itself. Fuck that, not interested. There was a time when I was like mildly interested because it sounded too good to be true, but when you look into it, there's a lot of wiggle room there, a lot of room for things to go wrong. So yeah, we can move on. So I mean, I think we can talk about the underlying question here as layer two, solutions gain traction. What is the significance of side chains in the evolution of the Bitcoin ecosystem? So, another layer two that is making Bitcoin more prosperous on some level, others would say it's failing on other levels, would be Lightning itself. I'm a Lightning Network user, big fan, but also I think you have to acknowledge there's a lot of shortcomings. It's a technical nightmare. I mean, you've got devs saying they wish they never would have implemented or used this if they would have known how convoluted it would have become a couple years later. But it's still a solution. I mean, it does help with scaling somewhat. I mean, I don't think we're ready for 8 billion people using the Lightning Network. It's still a bit of a mess. The failure rate is better. Some bad wallets are kind of getting out of the Lightning game, which is great. And you have some better solutions and liquidity management tools and node running tools and which is great. But the facts are like the average user isn't going to use those things. So I'm honestly a bit bearish on Lightning. What I would like to see is not only Lightning improve, but other solutions be brought to the table to compete with it, because I think that would, by virtue just of competition, raise the stakes, get more people involved in making Lightning better, and more user friendly. It does feel like magic, though. I mean, sending Lightning transactions is amazing. It's a great thing. I'm glad we have it, but I just want to push it to do better. I don't think we can get complacent here, and by rejecting drive chains, the other like false argument Paul makes is that Bitcoin will ossify. Like, you're saying the same shit Jeremy Rubin said, just like, if you don't adopt my thing, Bitcoin will ossify. That is not a reason to do anything. That is not a reason to risk the whole security model and consensus of Bitcoin, and to risk unforeseen bugs just because you want your thing implemented. That's ego talking. You can see that actually Jeremy's proposals are now doing better. OpCTV, these are more popular now that he has parted with the project, because it is actually the person himself who's interfering with the success of his project. It left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. He went about it the best way he could, but overall the market decided, we don't like what you're saying, and threatening to leave Bitcoin forever and go work on Ethereum, which it did. That doesn't make me want to adopt something. That doesn't make me want to change Bitcoin, which works perfectly well for me today. It may have some issues 100 years in the future. We don't know. We don't know about, minor, the block subsidy running out. Are the economics going to hold? I think we'll be just fine. I think we'll engineer good solutions. I don't see drive chain as the solution. It just opens a Pandora's box of problems, and changes the incentives of Bitcoin mining itself in a way that's pretty unpalatable to me. But we'll go on. Kind of rambling here. We'll hit the next question, Q.
It's NOSTRASIA.
Oh, the next news story. Got it. Your mic's still super gainy and loud if you want to. Yeah, so excitingly, yesterday, I think it was 2 days ago, Jack Dorsey posted asking Edward Snowden to come speak at NOSTRASIA. We had excitedly kind of reached out to him a little bit and tried to get the ball rolling there. And then we asked Jack to make the ask publicly. He did it. And what do you know? Snowden replied, "Let's do it. I'll get in touch." So he's coming virtually to speak, which is super exciting, man. I couldn't be more bullish on the good people we have on our side behind this thing. For like full transparency, some people looking from the outside get confused and think, wait, is Noster Jack Dorsey's protocol? Is Noster Snowden's protocol? Is it a social media network? What the fuck is it? Like, no, it's free and open source protocol that anyone can develop and change to their liking or use to their liking. They can use it without any kind of data collection or forfeiting any personal information, which is a beautiful thing. They can use it for all different things. I mean, I'll give you an example. We kind of market this stream that we're doing right now a little bit on Noster. You know, we talk about it, but also we're streaming it directly to Noster, you know, to a couple viewers every day, sometimes as many as 40 viewers. And in exchange for that, sometimes they send us sats, we send them sats, we ask them questions, we answer questions. That's a super powerful tool if you think, I mean, not just for our silly kind of newscasting and just kind of hanging out purposes like podcasting, but for someone who needs to send a message to the world. I mean, let's say something goes down in a foreign government, or you're in a place where you're censored. I mean, the ability to broadcast and communicate with the broader world in a permissionless and uncensorable manner is invaluable. Invaluable. And don't give me that X is freedom of speech. Like, impossible. Is not the case, has never been the case. You don't have freedom of speech with corporations. That's not how they operate. I'm sorry. You might be able to get away with one or two kind of freedom of speech messages before someone kind of knocks on your door or pulls the plug on your account or pulls the engagement on your account, which, by the way, Elon, give me my engagement back. Yeah, it's so Noster's invaluable. I think Ed sees the value proposition right away. He's been very candid about the user experience, but he's also been honest in how exciting it is to watch the thing grow over the last few months. I think the first time he joined a couple months after I did, and was like, man, this is clunky, but it's fun. It's got kind of, you know, good prospects. And then came back a few months later and was like, wow, this has grown a lot. There's a lot of good competing clients. There's a lot of great kind of user experience. There's some beautiful design coming along. There's some great dev kits being open sourced for people to borrow ideas and implement NIPs together. So it's improving at a rapid pace. I mean, the fact that we're here streaming on zap.stream now is testament to that, for sure. I don't know. Q, what do you think? What do you think about the Nostr? Well, actually, first, I should probably talk about the conference a little bit. So NOSTRASIA is in Tokyo, November 1st through 3rd. It's also simultaneously in Hong Kong. We got the main conference in Tokyo, and we've got basically a meetup in Hong Kong happening at the same time. We're ticking really close to 1,000 people signed up. The conference is completely free. To register, go to nostr.world, nostr.world, and sign yourself up. You don't have to forfeit any personal information to sign up, but we do ask that you create a Nostr account, which, again, no personal data required. It's just a public-private key pair. It's super easy to do. And then input that key just so we can get a head count and we can take care of the food. There's free food, really good food. I made the menu. It's going to be amazing. Lots of sushi. If you're a vegetarian, might be hard times, but you know.
Do you even have any vegetarian friends?
Do I have vegetarian friends? Yeah. Actually, one of my best friends is vegetarian.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he's a Turkish guy, and he worked in like basically a Turkish restaurant for most of his life. His family owned one, so he ate like copious amounts of meat. You know, that's what they eat, Turkish street meat. And then one day decided he'd had enough of it and quit for like karmic reasons. He's very spiritual, yogic, yogi type. You know, teaches a lot of yoga, a lot of jiu-jitsu. So he gave up meat, and it's very funny. We go out to eat together. But being a vegetarian didn't save him from getting food poisoning. We both got it. So boom. And I think it was actually the vegetables. I think it was like lettuce. I think it was all those terrible vegetables that are poisoning you. Yeah.
Did you see this study, or not this study, but like, I guess I think a zoo in Australia had to stop feeding its animals fruits because the modern fruit has so much sugar that some of the animals were having like tooth decay. Some of them were having like serious health issues because their diet was just fruit. So yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, I like fruit, but where do you get the fruit? I don't want these wax plastic apples, these literally spray painted like fucking oranges you get in the store. No, dude, you got to go organic if you're going to eat fruit, and you got to go like well sourced. You might as well go to Costa Rica and get your fruit. I mean, and just pick it yourself or grow it yourself. It's not that hard to grow. If you actually own a property and have a couple years, like grow your own fruit trees. It's an amazing thing. And no, I like fruit. I think well-sourced meat is just what I'm most comfortable on. But I don't know if you knew this, but I used to be a vegetarian. I was a vegetarian for like 4 years
When?
in high school.
Why? Was it
I
like a
don't know.
family decision or were you the vegetarian
No,
of the
no.
family?
Yeah, I was the vegetarian of the family. I was just like the oldest kid of like 10 kids, and it's like, let's do something different, you know? You're in high school, you do a lot of weird shit.
I'm just
Yeah.
imagining a nerdy little high school aged Alex just being like, no, I'm not going to eat my steak.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about nerdy. It's a pretty terrible student, but
No, you're definitely nerdy in my mind.
I think
Uh,
I don't know, man. Would you ever go vegetarian? Like what is your diet now?
I, I mean, my diet right now is awful because I'm traveling.
It's like elf bars
Dude,
and cigarettes and
so many
milkshakes.
cigarettes, like fasting, just skipping meals to save some money right now. Like, normal bear market behavior. But dude, I'm very big on like, I try to make as much as I can from scratch. So like
Mhm.
sauces I make from scratch, marinades I make from scratch, and dude, I cook. I can pretty much make anything.
But what are you making? You're making sauce? You're just eating sauce?
Yeah, I just eat straight sauce.
Pasta? A lot of pasta?
I have a pasta dish that my girlfriend loves. I've got like a chicken shawarma recipe that I do and change it
Nice.
up where I cook it in. Um, I've got like too many beef recipes, both ground and then like different cuts.
I've been on ground beef lately. That's what I came back from food poisoning eating. So it's just ground beef and eggs every day.
Honestly, ground beef is highly underrated, in my opinion. People like to shit
Depends
on
where you
it.
get it. Again,
Yeah,
depends on the
I
quality.
I have typically found that I like the meat and even the produce from Costco, but you have
Oh
to like.
god. I don't know. I don't any place that sells that amount of different things cannot have good food. Like
Ooh.
they're gonna sell televisions, they're gonna sell a 300-pound bag of rice
Okay, you
and
don't
like
understand Costco's
fucking
business
lamps,
model.
socks. No, I understand. You get the card. You get the
No, no,
card.
no, no. So
You get the hot dogs. You get the $1.50 hot dog.
so
That's
what
how
they
they make
what
their
they
money.
typically do is their like Kirkland brand, like their store
Yeah.
brand. They
Yeah.
don't manufacture any of this stuff.
No, it's the
They
same as Trader Joe's. They just slap a label on it. Like,
Yeah, and it's typically like Costco especially makes a point. I like my ex, her old company had to do a deal with them, and she was like explaining like all the weird things that Costco does when they make these deals, where it's like
mhm.
if they're gonna let your brand have its own product, then whatever product offering that you're giving Costco customers, it has to only be available in Costco. Like they have to create a unique product to be
Mhm.
released at Costco. But then there's also the Kirkland brand itself, where sometimes they just like Kirkland batteries are just Duracell batteries. Like literally, they
Yeah.
pay Duracell to make batteries for them, and then they slap on a Kirkland
Yeah,
sticker.
they white label all their stuff.
Yeah.
And they wholesale it. They save a lot on store operation because their warehouse is their fucking store. Like
Yep.
that's yeah. No, it's a cool model. I don't have a membership. I don't go to places. I don't go to grocery stores. Like I go to my butcher,
Fair.
and you
Need
know
to
what I
get me
mean.
one
Like,
of those.
yeah, I found that if you find a good butcher, a good rancher, even better. Because like, why go to the butcher when I can go directly to the rancher and have? I mean, you need the butcher sometimes to process it if you don't want to do all that shit yourself. But yeah, and if you can pay in Bitcoin, even better. But then you're not even going into the house of poison, that we like to call a grocery store, and you're not even
Yeah.
tempted by the mini, the sugar sirens of
Well, the
Walmart.
rule is typically, and like a Trader Joe's is the perfect example of this, where you're supposed to only shop for food at a grocery store along the walls, and all of the aisles is where all of the preservatives and processed foods tend to be.
I mean, yeah, people say that. That's true. I mean, that store layout generally is true, but there's just as much bullshit and garbage and sugar shakes and fruit drinks
Yeah.
like they're along the whole aisles, and like absolutely terrible meat that's been plunged, like speared and fucking stuffed full of water to make it heavier. All the steaks that you get at these stores. I mean, it's all fucked with. It's all. I can't trust any of it. You know what I mean?
Fair.
If I have to go there, I'm looking for to spoil myself with stuff like Topo Chico or like water. You know what I mean? Like,
Fair. I
but
do get a lot of coconut water from Costco.
yeah, coconut water could be good. It's tasty. But wow, this I don't even know how we diverged from layer twos onto this food tangent.
I mean, I could talk about food with you for the next 20 minutes.
We could. Oh, we were talking about Nostrasia. Yes. Yeah,
Oh,
very
yeah.
important. All
A
you
lot
have
of
to do is
sushi.
a lot of sushi, a lot of
What's your
fish, a lot of
favorite sushi?
bento.
What's your favorite like type of fish in sushi?
Salmon. There's only one right answer
Ooh,
here.
no, so wrong. The right
It's
answer
only
is
salmon.
toro. The fatty tuna, which is toro, is the
Uh-huh.
best.
Is it?
Dude, bro, go on a
Salmon belly. Dude, I'm getting sashimi. I'm getting like 2 plates of sashimi every time I eat sushi. Like I can't get enough of like good fresh salmon.
do you like tuna at all?
Yeah. No, I like all of it. Yeah, I love fish.
I'm, I'm telling you, like, make a point to have some toro, especially if you're in Japan, bro. And you will be texting me like, "Oh my fucking god, I can't believe I thought salmon was the shit."
I'll try. I mean, I think the level of sushi is obviously going to be kind of out of this world compared to what I'm used
Totally.
to. I mean,
Oh,
and yeah, you
bro,
know,
I'm sorry. Sushi in America outside of LA is awful.
I'm
Like,
sorry, but LA sushi is also comes from the same place and is, you know,
whoa, pause. No, it
yeah.
doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Dude, where does this magical LA sushi come from?
The quality of fish that's caught and then the turnaround time between when it's caught and then served at sushi restaurants in LA is much faster than anywhere
It's
else in the country.
No, we live in a global society now. All of that shit's flash frozen on boats too.
True. But the sushi in LA, man, I've had sushi all over this country. It doesn't compare to LA sushi. Like
Have you
LA
had the
sushi,
sushi? Have you had the sushi in Connecticut?
I've had sushi in New York, I've had sushi in DC, I've had
It's
sushi in
pretty
Austin.
good actually. It's pretty good actually. The East Coast has some decent sushi, but I don't think any of this stuff's I don't think we're even talking about the same food as when we go to Japan.
No,
Yeah.
but I'm telling you, the closest you will ever get to Japanese sushi is LA sushi.
Okay. Well, I'll have to give it a try next time I'm in LA, but hopefully
You
that will
also need
be
to add a lot of ramen to this uh excursion.
ooh to the menu. The ramen's tough though, because how do you serve ramen to 1,000 people?
Dude,
I
it's a
mean, we're
big
gonna do it to a
broth.
giant hot pot. I'll have to look into that. What we're doing is bento, a lot of bento. That's what they do for corporate gigs in Japan. They hand
That
out
makes
bento
sense.
boxes. Yeah, I want to get. I just need to make sure we have plenty of takoyaki. Have you had that? You know what that is? You had
Yes.
this? Oh, dude,
Yes.
so good, so good. It's the best.
They also have, okay, for your sweet tooth. I still have dreams about this, but I had an old colleague like over 10 years ago who went on a trip to Japan, came back with these like green tea and matcha Kit Kat bars.
That sounds pretty good.
They are so fucking good.
All right. I think we've done our daily food segment. It's like 8 a.m. Like, that's hilarious that we can go on this rant for that long about food. But
because I'm not gonna eat for like 6 more hours.
I know, same. So now I'm just gonna be hungry through all my meetings. So what do you think about Snowden, man? I heard a really funny theory from our friend Julian, who has the scariest possible worldview. That Snowden is, that he's basically he's a terrorist. He's he's a traitor and a terrorist, and he had the chance to open up all this information to the people, and he chose not to, which thereby makes him no better than the government himself. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, Buderon has like a weird line. Like him and I had a debate on the validity of like the Iranian coup that I wrote about in the next Bitcoin Magazine print edition. So be sure to check out the next one, not the one that just came out, the next one.
Nice.
Like from the way Buderon is analyzing it, I understand, but by that analysis, which I do agree with this next statement, that analysis would also assume that the US government is the largest terrorist organization in the world, which in my opinion it is.
It is.
So under that, guys, I understand where Buderon is coming from, but this is what I think about Edward Snowden and Julian Assange. Two people who came out and spoke the truth about what our government was doing and hiding from its citizens were immediately, frankly, vindicated, but then chastised and cast out into the abyss and told like they are the worst, like they are criminals and we must prosecute them.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, in 2023, especially this summer, we've seen a hell of a lot of whistleblowers come out, and in particular one who's come out and said that the US government is lying about all of the aliens that it has and the contact with aliens and alien technology. But this man is allowed to speak. And this man is not viewed as a national threat.
Yeah, because the aliens are taking your attention away from $100 billion being spent in a certain foreign country that we will not name.
Don't spoil the question. Don't spoil the question.
I didn't even relate it to the question. You did. Do you want to repeat your question for the one viewer that has joined us since we started the stream?
Well, shout out to the 6 people watching zap.stream on McShane's.
Are we at 6? Holy shit, bro.
We're 6 on yours, and then the Bitcoin Q&A channel has 0. So feel free to feel free for everyone who is watching on zap.stream, leave Alex's stream and go to the Bitcoin Q&A stream.
No. Stay on my personal profile. And Q hasn't figured out how to use Noster yet, but someday he might even have his own stream that you can join and watch from his. Q has a Noster profile. He just doesn't know how to access it.
Hang on, I'm on Iris right now. I'm on my Noster. If you want to
go live, bro. Go live. Prove it. You can't. Also, Q.
Reminder that
I don't think you even know this, but I set a goal on our zap.stream to get you a house because you've been homeless here for the last couple of years, and people are contributing to it. They're sending you sats.
Fuck up.
Yeah. So they're sending sats to help buy you a house.
What?
But
when did this start?
I don't know, but it's the best grift ever because it's not, the sats are going to me. They're not going to you.
I was about to say, I was like, I haven't seen a single one of these sats. Where are my sats at? Oh, what a grift.
Yeah.
What a grift. Okay. The question for the audience, and we will send you some sats if you get this answer right, is what is the newest Centicorn that the US government has invested in? And if you need to look up what a Centicorn is, that's allowed. Nothing else, though.
Didn't we already define that?
Yeah.
It's an investment that reaches $100 billion.
No, valuation of $100 billion.
Fair. Yeah. Correct.
So yeah, feel free to throw that in the chat, whether it's on Rumble, Twitter, zap.stream, YouTube. So the final piece of news to discuss, I guess. Literally just had it up. Sorry. Oh, it is literally this question.
Yeah, this is the question, guys. The answer to the question is the White House has finally crossed 100 billion on the war in Ukraine. $100 billion of your money. Yeah, this is going to be the one of the worst investments in the history of the United States. I mean, it's preceded only by other foreign regime change wars. Look, this money was stolen from you via taxation, and also debased from you, debasing your entire savings in USD to send weapons and promote a war that is basically toying with nuclear holocaust and asking for World War III. This is a conflict that never should have happened. The US had chances to de-escalate this. You know, the reason Putin sent only like 40,000 troops into Ukraine instead of decimating it with hundreds of thousands of troops was because he just wanted to provoke a negotiation. And now we're putting ourselves into a corner where that's never going to fucking happen. This is going to be an endless money laundering scheme for Joe Biden and his fucking family.
Wait, hang on. I want to push back on that a little bit.
Okay.
There's an aspect of Ukraine that I don't see it discussed often enough, and I think this is a clue into Biden and Congress's intentions here.
Yeah.
But there was a coup that the U.S. orchestrated in Ukraine in 2015. Ukraine literally was having a revolution, and then the U.S. instituted a pro-West, pro-U.S. regime into the Ukrainian public offices. So
and then they're surprised they want to join NATO. I mean, but when did we sign up to be the world's police? Like, I don't care about this country. This is their business. This is I can't be responsible for solving all the world's problems.
You can thank Nancy Reagan for that, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because she literally came out saying and talking about how we should be the ones in the world who go around and help the world and push forward for peace and prosperity around
and
the
evangelize
world.
Christianity and promote democracy. This faux idea of democracy, which is actually an oligarchy. We haven't had a true constitutional democracy. Even a monarchy would be better than what we have now. So
at least know you're the head of the snake.
Yeah, I mean, I think JFK was our last true, like, this was someone who led as a functional monarch, and he rejected the oligarchy and he rejected the deep state, and look what happened to him, and look what happened to his brother, and look what happened to his killer, and look what happened to his killer's killer. All these people were assassinated. So I don't know, man. I'm pretty pissed. $100 billion. Like, the truth is, I'm not going to be happy with how they spend our tax money at all. The actually most pervasive evil of the government is that they spend our tax dollars, and they're incapable of operating. You know, it's just a giant company. It's a giant war machine company, and they're incapable of operating in a way that's lucrative or ethical. You're never going to see any of that money again. It's fucking 4 months to 6 months out of the year you're working, and that's stolen from you. And then whatever, 10% of what you have left is stolen from you through debasement every year. So this is like one of the biggest reasons in my book to buy Bitcoin. It's like buy an ethical commodity that can't be taken away from you to fund these wars that we should have never had anything to do with, that we're instigating throughout the world and promoting to expand our own powers when we can't fix the problems at home.
I agree with a lot of what you said, but I want to say something that I'm hoping will almost like disappoint you.
Okay.
Especially in the year 2023, I myself have become very numb with the whole, oh, we sent billions and billions of dollars here or there. We unfortunately have
Yeah,
reached
it's not that much, with all the inflation.
with especially now today. Now, are you familiar with Donald Rumsfeld's speech on September 10th, 2001?
Jog my memory. No.
He gave a speech saying that the Pentagon could not account for 2.3
Oh, yeah.
trillion dollars.
Exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
not the only time this happened. This actually happened recently again with another $2 trillion. So
Yes,
over
they're not held responsible for these
$4
funds.
trillion. That's 40 times the amount we've sent to Ukraine. Our US government can't, or better yet, won't tell us where that money went. So
They don't have to, because they can print more of it. They can paper it over. You're going to live hand to mouth for the rest of your days. And these problems, they'll magically go away. It's just like an entertainment. It's a hoax. And they're going to see what they can throw at you next to make you forget. It might be aliens. It might be some kind of virtual emergency. It might be some kind of, what's that?
Legalizing pot and other drugs.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a way to appease the people because they have to be on drugs because they can't face the reality that they have to live in of being broke despite working, 60 hours a week. Yeah, it's not good, man. The state hates you, and they're all evil, and they're all going to hell, and you shouldn't use their money. It's unethical. Hundreds of thousands of people dead. It's unethical. Millions of people over the course of just, a few hundred years, millions and millions of people dead at the hands of the state, of all states. Yeah, you have to reject their money because
you're going to love the article that I wrote for the print mag.
What did you write? Oh, about Iran?
It's specifically about like the 1953 coup that the CIA helped orchestrate. And this was the very first government coup that the CIA orchestrated that then like gave them the not only playbook but the validation to continue this over the course of the next 70 some odd years that we've seen them redo this play over and over and over again, all the way up to Ukraine. Literally all the way up to Ukraine.
Yeah,
and they will continue to do it.
Dude, these like false flags are as old as time. I mean, they're sophisticated in these operations. It's the CIA, it's the FBI, it's the NSA, all colluding to play master puppets over the state and the presidency, and perpetuating these private and public war contracts that enrich a few at the expense of everyone, and at the livelihood and at the cost of actual lives in foreign countries over the course of years. And there's no better version of this, right? We often hold up Obama as this saint of, but you look at the statistics, and that's not the case. I mean, I'm beating a dead horse
version of this.
What's that?
Like literally, in my opinion, and in our founding fathers' opinion as well, Cyrus the Great, the old. So he was one of the, not the first, but one of the earlier kings of the Persian Empire, and his entire basis was slavery is wrong, and everyone should have the freedom to believe whatever they want to believe. So whenever he would conquer new lands, he would free all of the slaves and then leave the land alone to practice whatever religion this area sort of practiced before. He wouldn't instill any of their own values onto this land. He wouldn't change anything. Unfortunately, he just continued to try to press further and further on until eventually he met his end.
I mean, that sounds like a nice fable. It sounds like a history putting a pretty nice picture on a conqueror.
Potentially. I mean, there's a lot of stuff a lot of laws that Cyrus the Great passed that our founding fathers literally wrote, not only the Declaration of Independence, but in the Constitution as well. So
yeah, I don't know, man. I guess the connection that I'm kind of failing to draw here is like this Ukraine thing is about money. It's about power. It's about politics. It's not about you. It's not about the people of Ukraine. You know, they're dying. Russians are dying. Everybody's
No,
dying.
it's about the
And it's
U.S.
not worth
having
it.
another ally. That is really all
It's
it comes
about the
down to.
US installing another puppet government that they can control. I mean, who is
Exactly.
this fucking comedian? Has no experience in politics, running the whole world onto the brink of nuclear war. I mean, this guy's a fucking idiot. Like, how did he get into power?
Our kids will learn about World War III having started in February of 2021.
Right.
Like,
of course.
like this will only continue to escalate. China has done nothing to de-escalate. I mean, at this point, we're just going to spend.
Why would China want to get involved in this mess?
Well, it's China. China is.
They want to watch us squander our resources on some.
No. China is watching how this plays out because they have Russia's support and they have the BRICS support to go after Taiwan. And when when China does go after Taiwan, then the U.S. will have to get involved.
The U.S. can't wait to get involved. They can't wait. I don't care what they say. They cannot wait to get involved in another war. This is a profitable endeavor for them, and it expands powers. And like the gamble is everyone's livelihood and everyone's savings, and it's about keeping the U.S. dollar going and pumping. And
well, you also got to recognize part of it again, going back to like the playbooks that we've used. We got out of the Great Depression, not because we originally got into World War II, but because we started manufacturing all of the weapons and stuff that England and the other allies were using. And that manufacturing base got us out of World War II. And then our economy boomed once we entered the war. So the government has looked at that playbook as, okay, if we're in a time of economic hardship, then we should go to war and we will boost our economic output as a result.
Yeah, of course.
That's
what I said.
Literally,
can't wait. Yeah.
Like Occam's razor, the simplest solution is often the right solution. Like it is as simple as like they're just like the people making these decisions have no accountability.
They're the same people. There's a revolving door between the government and these defense contractors. Like these are all the same people and these big corporations. I mean, it's look, I think to do our part, we need to stop funding them by buying Bitcoin, taking it off exchange, putting it in cold storage, and leaving the jurisdiction if they continue to do this. I mean, done it before, we'll do it again. You have the freedom to leave the United States with all your Bitcoin. If it comes to that point, if they want to continue, to warmonger and manipulate the world and debase their livelihood at home and abroad.
How familiar are you with Afghanistan and the poppy fields?
I've never been to them.
Well, are you aware of the fact that at least for the last 20 years, Afghanistan has been like the main source
major heroin producer
for specifically poppy because they grow so much
precursor.
Poppy. Yeah. And so this is a really interesting thing because it's picking back up again. But in 2000, the supreme leader, the religious leader of Afghanistan, essentially decreed that the farming or growing or production of poppy is haram, which is essentially it's sinful, it's not allowed, it's illegal in the country. So then in 2001, the global poppy production fell by over 80%. Like it dropped off a freaking cliff. We all know 2001, 9/11, the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan. By 2002, the poppy fields immediately started bouncing back up to like pre-2001 levels and had steadily risen every subsequent year until this year. Because when we left Afghanistan abruptly at the end of last summer, then all of a sudden, what did the Taliban do? They reinstituted the fact that, hey, growing poppy is considered haram. This is now illegal. So as of now, in September of 2023, the global poppy production has fallen off a cliff exactly the same way as it did in 2001. And look, we saw how all of the pharmaceutical companies took advantage of
Well, we don't need poppy anymore, Q. We have fentanyl.
fair, but there's a lot of drugs still being produced that do require
Yeah.
poppy.
Yeah.
So the pharmaceutical companies' incentive to go back to Afghanistan and put in a government that is more
Triggered.
friendly to their
Triggered. We don't
trade
even have
union.
time to talk about pharmaceuticals today.
I know.
This is such an aggravating subject. I'm so
I don't want.
direly underqualified to talk about this, but I'm so frustrated by all of it. I mean, this
I,
is just
I,
the
I don't want
only
to. I don't
reason
want
in
to
the world
necessarily
why.
like go into the nuances. I want to present certain facts. And the
Okay.
fact of the matter is, the global poppy production has declined so drastically that pharmaceutical companies may not have enough supply to manufacture the drugs that. And I'm not saying this out of sympathy. I'm simply listing facts. They require to generate a profit. And the last time we saw this happen, we ended up literally creating a war to go to in Afghanistan. So I would not be surprised if, much in the same way that the Taiwan becomes a battleground for the US to pay attention to. Russia has long been after Afghanistan and its natural resources. There's a movie that I actually don't think it's on Netflix anymore, called Charlie Wilson's War, that kind of tells you about this Texas congressperson, Charlie Wilson, who essentially created a proxy war between Afghanistan and Russia and helped Afghanistan defeat Russia, but in turn essentially armed and created Al Qaeda and the Taliban accidentally. I just think it's a very interesting time in the world, and I wouldn't be surprised if Afghanistan turned into another battleground region if Russia and China were to try and take it over.
I'm waiting for Mexico to become. I'm waiting for the U.S. to invade Mexico. Okay, next 10 years.
Are you in the Vivek camp of let's drop a bomb on the cartel?
I don't want to drop a bomb on anyone. What do we have these fucking Navy SEALs for? Go in there and,
Pop, pop, pop.
Yeah, you can do it. You can do this quietly. We don't need to be dropping bombs and killing civilians. And I don't know. I don't support any of it, man. I think we should all leave the cities and move peacefully to the countryside. Anyone that can, buy as much Bitcoin as you can, and kind of enjoy your life outside of all this, because there's not much we can do to affect it other than opt out of it and refuse to pay it legitimacy by interest, and with our money and with our taxes.
Do we want to wrap up here? Or do we want to try to hit the peer-to-peer question?
Let's hit it. I got a few minutes. Let's hit the peer-to-peer question.
I explained this to Stevie's brother last night at dinner, so I'd like to take the first crack at this.
Yeah, go for it, man.
How does peer-to-peer apply to Bitcoin, and why is it different from traditional banking systems? So let's say Alex has a grocery store. Triggered, I know. And I need to go in and buy some meat from him. In the current system, I have typically two options. I can pay in hard cash directly to him. We're done with the transaction. We can move on with our day. Or I use some sort of a digital transaction, most typically a credit or a debit card. If you're more advanced or you care less about your privacy, you might be using things like an Apple Watch or have some sort of a digital payment system set up with your phone or smartwatch. Those digital payment systems require at least one intermediary. Then saying one assumes that both the bank that I'm using, let's say I have a Bank of America credit card and Alex uses a Bank of America bank account, and I'm using my debit card. So Bank of America will debit my account to his. So we have the one banking intermediary, but that assumes we both use the same bank. Now say I use a Chase Visa credit card and Alex has a Bank of America bank account. Not only do you have both Chase Bank and Bank of America involved, but you also have Visa. And any of these three intermediaries could theoretically do something or be told to stop transactions or don't allow these transactions to happen. Q is not allowed to purchase things on certain days. Q is not allowed to go shop at grocery stores, etc., etc. Versus with Bitcoin, so long as both parties want to exchange the Bitcoin, no one can stop me from sending Bitcoin to Alex so long as I custody it myself. So long as you don't reintroduce an intermediary, you can peer to peer transfer from one peer, myself, to another Alex without any third party, any government coming in and saying, no, he can't because it's Wednesday and Q can't buy food on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
How'd I do?
Beautiful. Yeah. Great example. I mean, it's what it sounds like. Yeah. Taking out trusted third parties, taking out intermediaries. It functions a little bit like cash would in the fiat system. Although the difference is the monetary policy of Bitcoin is transparent, and we've come to, rough consensus on it. It's immutable. And yeah, we know what's going to happen with the supply of the money in the next few years. And we know that we have a guarantee that, together with our distributed kind of validation of this rule set, things aren't going to change on us. You're not going to get disenfranchised, as you are every day, every time, the U.S. sends aid to Ukraine, for example. So peer-to-peer is great. There's a lot of great ways to use it. I think Bitcoin bearer instruments are really fun and cool ways to onboard people and fun ways to use Bitcoin. Let's use the example. Where's my camera? Got a Sats card here. I often carry these around to give to people, or, if they ask about Bitcoin, I'll tap it on their phone, and Bitcoin QR code will show up with a balance right there on their phone, and then they've got some Bitcoin. I mean, is this the most secure self-custody ever? No, but it demonstrates how fast Bitcoin and Lightning can work, and you can also kind of demonstrate how it's like cash, and that it's pseudonymous, it's fungible. You can hold and spend without a trusted third party through those means, and yeah, you don't have to get into the more complicated private key questions quite yet. So those bearer instruments, open dimes are kind of fun, but also just downloading, Lightning wallets for people, sending them a bit of Lightning. There's a lot of ways to use the peer-to-peer experience to boost adoption, which is, I think, something we should all be kind of pushing for in our day-to-day lives, spending Bitcoin where possible, asking people. It can be a little bit embarrassing at first, I think, for some people, but I always ask with people I do regular business with if they'll consider taking Bitcoin. And then I bug them about it for years until they cave and let me pay in Bitcoin. And that promotes Bitcoin adoption. I've convinced real businesses to start accepting Bitcoin. Am I the only person that pays them in it? Yeah, that might be the case, but there's room there for growth. There's at least one more people and a couple staff who know how to use this stuff. They know about the technology. They're learning more about it. It's about providing the first and second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth touch points so that people can jump in. I mean, I think anyone watching at home that has anything to do with Bitcoin didn't wake up one day and realize it was, a superior monetary system than the state-run fiat system. It took a long time and a lot of touch points, a lot of education, a lot of experimentation, a lot of play. So I guess that's my main message for the day is just go out, play with this stuff, try new software, show other people. Because I think, especially with the kind of war conversation we had earlier, we have a duty to spread this technology to help people. We absolutely, I believe that we have a duty to get this Bitcoin into the hands of as many people as possible so that they can opt out of their local fiat system and separate money from state for themselves at home. It's a beautiful thing. It's a super empowering thing. And I think it'll bring prosperity in many ways for anyone that chooses to do so and takes this stuff seriously. I think we have to skip our third question, unfortunately, today, Q, because
No, we're going a little long. I was gonna say, just as a reminder to everyone watching, be sure to subscribe to whatever channel you are watching this on. We appreciate everyone from Rumble to zap.stream to Twitter to YouTube. Be sure if you're on zap.stream to zap to my house fund, but zap it directly to me so this grifter over here doesn't steal my down payment.
Yeah, and the way that it gets to Q's wallet is you go to my profile on zap.stream. We got about 11 viewers there right now. You just give a little tip in the chat. It says
you can send it directly to me. Don't fall for the grift. Don't fall for the grift. But that's gonna do it.
Yeah, shout out to all the viewers on zap.stream. We love you guys. Leave a comment. We'll absolutely send you a little Bitcoin. And don't forget to like and subscribe on Rumble and YouTube as well to help boost the show. Thanks a lot, guys.